if you are not caught up to speed, plenty of videos recently talking about it. What had happened was a 17-year-old black student at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, stabbed a kid, also 17, named Austin Metcalf, a white kid, at the track meet, all over a seat under a tent. And the reason that the race is relevant is because, of course, everybody made it about race when I really don't think the situation had to do with race. It had to do with the violence problem. It had to do with the anger problem. It had to do with just a very drastic lapse of judgment, a series of lapse of judgment, dare I say. And now it's created this huge firestorm that's giving BLM, but a whole different premise this time around. So go ahead and watch the prior episodes to catch up on that. But here are the updates on that situation. So Karmelo is now walking free, essentially, for some time. So his bail was reduced, as I said, from $1 million down to $250,000 just the other day. Ever since April 2nd, he's been in Collin County Jail over in Texas. Now, yesterday, Judge Angela Tucker, when she reduced the bond, it was citing that he had no prior criminal history and because he had such deep community ties, and that was the reason why she decided to reduce his bail. And there are some extra conditions being put on his release, such as he has to remain on house arrest, he has to wear this ankle monitor, he's not allowed to use social media, he cannot have any contact with the Metcalf family, and he has to do weekly check-ins with the court, and has to have parental supervision for any approved outings. Now, where do I even begin with all of this? So, first of all, I think we need to talk a little bit about Judge Tucker because she is a black woman. So with her being a black woman, a lot of people are now making this assumption that she's this DEI judge, and I'm seeing tweets calling her woke, and I'm seeing all these different narratives being just spun around this whole situation, but now they're attacking Judge Tucker. First of all, Judge Tucker is not woke. Do your research before you go and you slander people online. This is an elected Republican appointed by Governor Greg Abbott. She ran for re-election and just won back in 2024 as a Republican. She probably has a lot of values as the same people who are trying to call her a DEI judge. So again, and the reason why I try to give as much context to this whole situation as I do is because I understand why people are mad. I understand why people are mad at every single direction and angle that this conversation can be had, but I want us to be mad accurately. My biggest thing is we can disagree on perspective, but at the same time, let's try not to disagree about objective facts and objective truths. So as far as calling Angela woke, that really is not sitting well. And that's a narrative that needs to go away quickly if you want your argument to have any sort of credibility. Now, that being said, with the bond being reduced, Anthony was able to post bond quite easily, and he was released from jail just yesterday. I believe we have a clip of him leaving out of jail and him being hounded.
We're up, we're up, we're up, we're up.
He's hard to read. I feel like I'm usually pretty good at reading people just like on their mannerisms. Like it's hard to see how he feels right now.
Karmelo, why were you armed at school?
I can't tell if there's remorse. I can't tell if there's regret. I can't tell if there's anger, fear,
How is this self-defense?
maybe a bit of everything. Just very stoic, which honestly I'm not surprised. At the same time, I can't imagine what mentally goes through someone's head after you just murdered someone and potentially might spend the rest of your life in prison. So all that to say, now here's one of the other big controversies. So people are mad, first of all, that the bail got reduced. You know, I understand why, but typically speaking, from my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if the criminal or the potential criminal that is awaiting trial, it's not uncommon for their bail to be reduced in a circumstance where they're not necessarily a threat to society. I really don't think it's a fair judgment call to say that Karmelo Anthony, if he with him now being back on the loose and on house arrest, that he's going to be a threat to anyone. And he is, you know, constitutionally obligated to a fair and speedy trial by jury. So until we have all the facts there, I can understand why the bail was reduced. I can also understand why people are mad. But again, making that a racial thing, it's like let's don't do that. It's like I can't stand this situation being unnecessarily made about race. It's like, pick a struggle. It's like 1 second, it's like the narrative online is white people are privileged, so they get their bail reduced and all these things. And then the next moment it's, oh, if it was a white person, he would be still stuck in jail. It's like, I don't know what kind of criminal justice classes y'all are taking, but like, let's just be so for real and stop analyzing everything through the channel of race and just start looking at things from the objective truth. And I really get annoyed when people on the right do it. And I was fighting for my life on Twitter or X about this today, because people are always like, if the roles were reversed, or if it was a black person that got killed by a white person, all these different things. Yeah, I get it. I get the argument, but let's not continuously play by the left's rules. There's a reason why the left lost. There's a reason why the left no longer has a stronghold on culture or influence or even really any credibility at this point. And it's because they unnecessarily play these racial games. They don't care about context in a situation. They're too emotional whenever they try to have these serious conversations. And I don't want the right to turn into that. Otherwise, we're going to be just as doomed as the left is. The left is cooked right now. Why would we use their playbook for how we respond to this situation? So the other big part of why this is all controversial is because, as we have discussed, almost $500,000 at the time of recording this, has been raised for Karmelo's family. And it is now public information that they are relocating due to safety concerns. They're citing that there are threats being received after the incident. And I keep saying GoFundMe, so I apologize because people keep getting mad because I'm saying GoFundMe instead of Give, Send, Go. It's like, it's the same energy, okay? Same energy. But Give, Send, Go is where all this money is coming from. And again, it was made for not just for relocating, but it was made for relocating, hiring security, moving potentially to a gated community, for an extended legal defense, seeking professionals, all of that. And when I last checked, I believe it's at $435,000. Do we have an update on that? I ain't got my eyes on. Yeah, it looks like $435,000 has been raised so far for Karmelo Anthony, which is crazy. Because I understand the argument that people are making in defense of him, but at the same time, I just could not see myself being so confident in a stance of self-defense when you have a kid who just stabbed someone in the heart at a track meet. This is why I say America has lost the plot. This has become such a racially, politically charged situation that people are forgetting, yes, there is a high potential that Austin Metcalf was the one who really escalated the situation, but not to a point where you stab him in the heart. It's like I said before, lose a fist fight, walk away, get a supervisor. There are so many things that Karmelo could have done rather than stab this kid in the heart. So for people to be so emboldened as to donate, I'm really, really grossed out by society. And that's the only way I can put it. It's like, I'm disgusted. Like, it actually makes my skin crawl and makes me uncomfortable. It makes me really uncomfortable. So all that to say, Andrew is Karmelo's father, and he has since testified that his family is continuously getting pressure and that Karmelo's younger siblings are being attacked. And you know what? That is not right, you guys. If you are, my cousins don't do this kind of ghetto hood rattery, but if you are one of the ghetto hood rats that are threatening the entire Anthony family because of what happened, you need to stop. Calm down. Okay, there are many of you out there who have criminals in your family and people who have done some really foul, disgusting things that have done those things in your family that has nothing to do with you. Okay, Karmelo's younger siblings, there's no reason that they should be getting threatened. And I 100% believe that they do, because some people were trying to even push back and be like, there's no way that's happening. I believe it's happening because, again, I have condemned Karmelo since the beginning, but because I have online and on this platform have tried to just explain the full context, I'm even getting threats. And I have nothing to do with this situation. I don't even know these black folk. Okay? So calm down. If you're going to be mad at anybody, be mad at Karmelo. Don't be mad at his father. Don't be mad at, or maybe you're mad at the circumstance of what you assume he was raised in, which we're going to get into that in a minute. But don't be mad at his little siblings. Okay? Those are children who did not ask for any of this. But you know what I'm saying about the father, there's a few things that we have been assuming that I even take accountability. I assumed, and I was wrong. Okay. I thought that Karmelo, I just assumed anybody that does something that evil and vile as stabbing someone in the heart, I thought he must have grown up maybe a fatherless household, maybe as a thug, maybe as, long record. And that's not the case, which makes it even more shocking. And a lot of people are talking about how this money is being used, how a good chunk of this money is being used from Give, Send, Go to relocate into a new home. But I think people are also getting confused. The house that a lot of people are posting, which we are not going to show here, the house that people are posting saying that they're relocating and buying this beautiful home, that's the home they already live in. Okay, the current appraisal is an $863,000 home is where Karmelo is currently living. So his family is well off. His father is very much in the picture. And from what I've read online, his father is involved in the community. He comes from from the outside looking in, a very healthy, nice, good family. So this makes me just have a number of questions again of why was Karmelo so angry? Why was Karmelo so prone to stab someone? Was he not raised with consequences? Is this an example of a spoiled rich kid that just never had any discipline put on him? I don't know. I have a lot of questions. Here's him with his father, and people are posting this photo of him in the house from the inside and saying that this is the house they relocated. No, this is the house they already live in, because I went and I checked the Zillow to see the exterior, and this is the same staircase. So again, I'm baffled. I'm really baffled that Karmelo did this, because from, again, outside looking in, I would like to assume he was raised right. With the whole, I understand that, because I talk about it all the time. Fatherlessness is an epidemic in the Black community, but there are a lot of fathers that really stand on business. There are a lot of Black fathers that are very present, very strong, very good leaders. And, shout out to them. Shout out to Black fathers. What happened here? I'm very, very curious to know. Does it change anything? Low-key, no. More likely than not, no, because at the end of the day, you still stab somebody in the heart. And again, I have to keep saying this over and over and repeating this time and time again, because people take me trying to analyze the entirety of the situation. They take that and they try to make it seem like I'm defending or empathizing or whatever with Karmelo. No, I just want to understand what happened here, because this is going to be a conversation that we're having for a while. And I don't want to just go and be someone just spewing out hateful talking points like what's happening on the internet right now. So what he did at the end of the day, it's vile, it's evil. My prediction, based on what we know so far, is I think he's going to walk away with voluntary manslaughter. Okay, I don't think he's going to walk away with murder if he actually has a strong self-defense case. And I say that not in the sense that it was justified, but in the sense of, y'all know how the court of law works. It can be some complete BS and you still get away with it if it sounds right in the court by the book. Like, I'm still not over the fact that O.J. Simpson walked away because the glove didn't fit. Please, all that blood in that man's car and he still walked away. So the court of law is kind of stupid. So that being said, if they are able to paint enough of a picture as Karmelo's defense is currently doing, saying that it was self-defense, then he might have a case. I don't think he'll walk away. I find it extremely unlikely that Karmelo will ultimately end up walking away free when this is all said and done. I predicting from what we have now, and I reserve the right to amend and change my mind, I think he's going to walk away with voluntary manslaughter is what I'm thinking. And I do want to throw out there too, for what it's worth, prosecutors did question why the funds that $435,000 that was raised for that initial $1 million bond, why it wasn't used for that. And, Andrew Anthony and his defense both said that access to the funds are delayed and he does not yet have that money. So all the money that you're seeing on Give, Send, Go, it's not there yet. Like, they don't have that yet. So anything you see him buying or paying for now, that's not from that money just yet. So this narrative of people being like, oh, he got this GoFundMe or he got this Give, Send, Go money and he ran and bought a house, that didn't happen. At least not yet. That's not what's happening here. And I understand why people have trauma because of a la BLM, buy large mansions, how they took all those donations and all that money and went and bought mansions, and people are like, oh, it's deja vu. That's the easy way to take this. Okay, if you guys want to have a reductive conversation that's low vibrational and doesn't actually analyze the facts, this ain't the section of the episode for you, because the rest of the episode isn't going to be as heavy as this, yeah, but let's be so for real. Let's not compare this to BLM, buy large mansions just yet. Okay, let's walk with me here. Let's take our time as we analyze the situation and as things develop. And I'm going to keep you guys posted because, again, I'm tired. I have spoken to probably 10 prominent Black conservatives that a lot of you guys know that are very popular. I've talked to a lot who are active in the movement, behind the scenes, work in the White House, all these different people. And every single Black conservative is really drained by this situation for reasons I explained in last week's episode. And thank you guys for all the feedback on that episode, Confessions of a Black Conservative. I took a lot of pride in that episode because it wasn't easy to do. And, you know, a lot of the anger that is happening online towards all of Black youth, it's out of control and it's very bizarre. And I know that's obviously the fringe woke right that's doing that, but I don't want to see them become so loud and go so unchecked that all of the Black conservatives that are moving over to the right, or all the Black people who are moving over to the right because we swore there's no racism over here, I don't want them to see what's happening on X right now and be like, okay, maybe we should go back to the left. And I'm not saying the left is perfect either, because don't think that I don't see some of the disgusting thing that people on the left are saying too, because I got called out today saying that I haven't condemned it enough. I just assume sometimes at this point, and maybe that's my fault, I assume that if you follow me and you watch me and we are cousins at this point and you know my voice and you know my stance, then you know that when I'm seeing the Black people who are saying that a white kid got what he deserved and saying that this is justified and that no matter what, they're on Karmelo's side, I just assume at this point, since I'm always been getting called a coon and Uncle Tom, you guys know how against that I am. I feel like some things should go unspoken since we know each other at this point. But some of you are new to me, so maybe I shouldn't assume that. Maybe I shouldn't assume, but for those of you who regularly watch me, you know my heart, you know my integrity, and you know me. We know each other. So I really don't even feel like I need to go that route, but just so it's on the record, yes, I obviously condemn anyone that is standing with Karmelo for the sole purpose of him being Black. That is tribalistic, that is ghetto, that is exactly the mindset that has put the Black community in the state that we are in today, because the Black community is in a state of emergency. The Black community is in a state of emergency when it comes to culture, when it comes to crime, when it comes to stats, and when it comes to being delusional about our own problems. And we can't keep going around blaming white people for everything. Okay? So I got one side of the aisle trying to call me a coon and Uncle Tom and a sellout and anti-Black, and they got the other side calling me a Black supremacist because I simply stated the details of what's going on. You can't win. You can't pick a struggle. So you know what? I choose the truth.